Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Student Spotlight, where we showcase some of the work our past students have done. I'm Ingrid. I'm one of the outreach coordinators with CCIR, and today it is our pleasure to have Revanth with us today, who's one of our students from a previous session. To start things off, Revanth, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what year you're in school, and a little bit about the course you took with CCIR?
Hello, everyone. I'm very honored to be in this series. I'm Revanth, and I live in Tokyo. I go to UIA International School of Tokyo, where I study at grade 11. I'm very passionate about maths, physics, and computer science. Therefore, in CCIR, I chose a course which aligns with my interests, which was linear optimization with mixed integer programming under the mentorship of Dr. Benoit.
And for this program, did you do the Future Scholars program, or was it a one-on-one mentorship program?
I did the Future Scholars program.
Okay. What made you seek out doing this program with CCIR? Did you do a lot of research to see like other programs you could do? And what made you choose CCIR?
First of all, locally, there aren't many opportunities for me to showcase my research. Therefore, I went on the internet, and then I found that CCIR had so many professors and so many courses which could align with anybody's interests. Therefore, I scrolled through the catalog and I realized that there is linear optimization. And as it is one of my interests, I decided to apply for CCIR.
Mm-hmm. Have you had experience with this subject in school before, or is it just something you learned more in depth about through CCIR?
Before this course, I had no idea what the word optimization meant. But then through CCIR and the very well mentorship conducted by my teaching assistants and my lecturer, I was able to understand linear optimization and what it is used for. So I would definitely thank CCIR for that.
Could you share a little bit about what neuro optimization is with our listeners? Because it's definitely not something we hear about in our day-to-day lives.
So linear optimization is basically a way of, as it says, optimizing, so minimizing cost or maybe maximizing revenue. It can be used to possibly in industries to understand what variables are in play, and it basically sets everything as linear functions. And by playing with coordinate geometry, we can set a way so that we can maximize revenue or minimize cost.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Could you share a little bit about how the course was laid out, what you learned, and I guess how your course was structured as a Future Scholars course?
So the first half of the course was mainly lectures. It was a bit hard to follow because there was a lot of new content, but then the lecturer was always very open to questions, so I was able to understand the concepts thoroughly. And the second half of the the second half of the course was a mix of lectures and more TA sessions as well. The teaching assistants basically introduced practical applications of the content I was learning, and that definitely helped with understanding the course and also helped with my research.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. Now we're going to shift into your research project. Could you share the title of your research project and like a brief overview of what your paper was about?
So my project title was Industrial Applications of Linear Optimization in Pharmacy and Facility Locations using JuMP. So JuMP is basically a framework which allows for complex and simple mathematical computation. And with this topic, I was able to dive into how pharmacies get their medicine supplies at a very fast rate so that they can serve patients. And my project basically consisted of ways to minimize costs and how it takes into account delivery costs, renting of facilities, renting of delivery vehicles, and found a solution based on the numbers which we use in day-to-day life.
Mm-hmm. And with your project, how did you decide your final research topic? Like, did you have kind of guidance from your TA and your mentor throughout your course, or did you kind of already have a good sense of wanting to do something like this before you started the course?
For the first half of the course, I was basically clueless about what I wanted to do. But then the lecturers and TAs basically gave some ideas about what we could do and what examples are already there. And that definitely helped with how I could decide what I wanted to do. So the TAs, they in every single session they went over each practical and how it could be used in completely different situations. And with that, I was able to think of my own situation, which is pharmacy and facility locations.
Mm. So, what are some key impacts or takeaways that you discovered from your research that you want to share with your audience?
Well, before I joined the program, I used to think that computer science and math were completely different fields. But then with this program, I was able to enter a new field in which math and computer science were basically together. And we had to use programming languages to convert mathematical equations into reality. So I would tell the audience that always be open to explore new fields, and when a research program is present with a topic which you're not familiar with, always try and see if it aligns with your interests.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really good point because, like, I mean, it's definitely a more like it's not something you would know unless you like dig deeper into a subject. So I'm really happy that you found a niche that you learned a lot about through our program. Can you share a little bit about your research methods and what that process was like for you to find that data?
So before I started on my research, the teaching assistants showed some of their own research papers and also talked about how we could make our own research papers. I learned that the field of mathematics has a little bit different research paper structure compared to other fields. So it was interesting to learn about how we could make our own research papers. Uh, uh, the website which the lecturer made on how JuMP works and how programs can be used to solve problems definitely helped because it also went through example situations. And based on that, I was able to think about how my program could help my problem. And with that, using the examples which the lecturers and TAs gave, I was able to formulate my own research paper using the program which they taught us.
Mm-hmm. Have you done this type of research at all before, like in classes or just in school?
No, I would say this is a very new experience for me because CCIR has a different learning structure compared to my day-to-day school.
Mm-hmm. How would you describe the difference?
In normal school days, there would be teachers and they would be teaching the content, but then there would be
Mm-hmm.
very less practicals and there would be very less hands-on learning. So what we would do, we would just read over the textbook, do some practice questions, that's it. But then with
Mm-hmm.
CCIR, they actually show us how to do it. They show us with practicals and they would also show us how it's used in day-to-day life, which helps with
Mm-hmm.
understanding.
Mm-hmm. So what is next for your research project? Are you going to continue building on top of it? Are you going to publish it? Yeah, what's next?
So when I was done with my research project, I sent it to my lecturer and my teaching assistants, and they
Mm-hmm.
suggested that I could publish it in a secondary research journal. Therefore, with CCIR, I'm planning to publish it in a research journal known as Parabola. And currently, the academic team in CCIR is reviewing my paper so that I could publish it in the journal.
Mm-hmm. And how has that process been like working with the academic team with like the support on helping you publish?
The academic team had a very swift response to all of my emails, and that definitely helped because when I finished my paper, I was pretty clueless about how to improve it. And with their swift response, I could definitely increase the quality of my paper. And I could also
Mm-hmm.
add information which I might have missed before. And they also
Mm-hmm.
suggested journals to publish it in. And they gave me some guidance to what kind of guidelines I should keep in mind when I was making the paper to tailor to the journal's format.
Mm-hmm. That's great to hear. So now we're shifting to the last little bit of this episode where I would love to hear about your general experiences with CCIR. Can you share a little bit about your general experience and doing a high level research project like this one as a high school student?
The first 4 sessions with CCIR were definitely intimidating because I was not exposed to such a high level of information and theory before. However, I got used to the level of information and knowledge which was being taught to me by asking many questions, and the lecturers seemed to have understood that the content is getting a bit too difficult, so they were using time to explain it in a simpler way. And when the teaching assistant session started later in the course, that also helped with my understanding of the linear optimization, and it also helped with everything else related to my research project.
As a future scholar student, there has to be a few classmates in your course. What was that like with more than one person in a course like this? And did you work together with the other students? And was there a collaboration or anything to work on everyone's research paper?
In the TA sessions, they always open it up to collaboration. So when there were many students, we would all come up with solutions to the problems which a TA suggested. And together we were able to learn from each other and understand new concepts and new information. However, after the TA sessions, we were basically set on our own paths because we had different research ideas.
Okay. And so did everyone have a very vast kind of different directions for their research paper, even though you guys were in the same class?
Yes, everyone thought of very innovative problems and different solutions. So even though the base fundamentals are the same, which is linear optimization, the concepts and the practical applications of it differed very much. We still learn from each other and learn from each other's research projects, but then eventually it had to be that we made different research papers and used different concepts and applied it differently.
So my second to last question, how would you describe this experience with CCIR on its impact as a student going forward?
Well, I would not have imagined that I would be doing a research project possibly 2 years ago, but then now I'm very confident that I've exposed myself to the world of research and what it can do and how it can improve the world. So I would say that CCR has definitely helped me and also helped many people, such as my classmates, in the sessions with learning new things and learning complex concepts which are not taught in day-to-day school.
That's great to hear. And I think obviously, like when I was in high school, I didn't have this opportunity to do like university level research. So this is such a new and great pocket of opportunity for high school students today. For my last question, do you have any advice for our listeners or students who are interested in the programs we have here at CCIR? Anything you would share now that you're kind of at the end of this journey?
I would tell people to always explore the very long catalog of courses in CCIR and narrow it down to probably 10 to 20 so that they'll have a vast spread. And then they can research in a little bit into each course to see which one they like the best, because that will definitely help how they look at their research project and how much passion they put into it. And I would say they should keep pushing through, even if the first 3 to 4 sessions seem hard, but then after that it'll definitely get easier and you'll definitely feel that's worth it.
Thank you so much for sharing. That would conclude our episode for today. Thank you so much, Revanth, for joining us and sharing your experience with our listeners, and congratulations on completing such a rigorous program. And I wish you best of luck with all your future endeavors.
Thank you.